Hello, everyone, and welcome to Pop Cultured, a new podcast featuring old friends where we provide a series of pop culture recommendations. My name is Ben Pearson, and joining me on today's episode are Hoai Tran Bui,
Hey, everyone.
Brad Oman,
Hey, that's me.
Jacob Hall,
Hello, hello.
and BJ Colangelo.
Hi.
All right, so right at the top of the show, I want to encourage everyone listening to go to patreon.com/popcultured to learn about the various subscription tiers we have and what you'll get access to for subscribing at different levels, including a weekly box office discussion and more. Before I forget again, I never weighed in on the last episode with the number of new to me movies that I watched last year, but I counted it up and it was 209. So that loose end is officially tied up. And I also wanted to mention before we launch into today's episode that we're recording these episodes a little bit early. So we're trying to bank some stuff and give ourselves a little bit of a runway here. So by the time you're listening to this, our conversation will have happened several weeks ago. And I think that will be very apparent by the first thing that we talk about here. So BJ, why don't you tell me what you've been doing recently?
So recently, I have been out protesting because at the time of recording, the government has been invading Los Angeles, which is super fun and cool. I love my friends and neighbors being kidnapped off the street. Awesome stuff. And so for the last week or so, because of where I live, we found out a hotel where ICE agents were staying. And so there has been a No Sleep for ICE campaign, showing up at night, yelling outside a hotel just to, we're not going to get no sleep because of y'all not going to get no sleep because of us. And then, of course, the No Kings protest on the 14th. It was huge. It was loud and hot and incredible. And I did end up leaving before it got a little violent, with, cops hitting people on horseback. Super cool stuff. But I will say the way that the news has been portraying, especially what's happening in LA, it has been so peaceful. It has been so fun. People have been singing, bringing kids, line dancing. It's been an absolute, beautiful sight to behold. Anything that has been bad is because people are responding to the violence that they're being met with by law enforcement and the government.
Yeah. So you weren't the only one who was out there in the streets. Jacob, I saw some photos of you as well.
Yeah, I'm in Texas, so I'm pretty far from LA. Things are, it's a different vibe down here. So I was pleasantly surprised by how packed my protest was. I mean, I feel like the bare minimum I could do here is to attend a protest with a sign. And so I wasn't able to make the full-on Austin protest, which was much, much bigger. But there is a city called Pflugerville, which is north of Austin, which is much closer to where I live. So I figured I'll go to Pflugerville protest, maybe a few hundred people there. And there was a lot more than a few hundred people there. I don't want to give size estimates, but the crowd was packed. They spilled beyond the area that was, permitted for us to be in. Lots of support from passing cars. One counter-protester who was there for about a half hour before he seemed to shuffle away. Just really great to see small-town Texas, outside of Austin showing up, and seeing on social media like towns like Taylor, which are formerly deep red, having a fair number of people show up for unofficial protests. It was great. I brought a giant case of water, and people were very happy to grab water from me. I stood there with a overly earnest sign and just did my part. And I don't know. I mean, the common perhaps the common meme / guilt trip thing is, if this was 1933 in Germany, what would you do? And I feel like, man, the literal bare minimum I could do is buy a piece of poster board and write a thing on it and go stand amongst a couple thousand people and, make my voice heard quietly. I don't know, man. I mean, I wish I had the nerve to do more, and I'm not sure I do, but count me in for more of this. I will say, Pflugerville Police Department, very well behaved. Crowd, very well behaved. Hoping that we can do this more often, and just, it was good for a few hours to not feel alone when it comes to how messed up everything is. So if you're on the fence about attending a protest in the future, don't be on the fence. Do it. Take precaution, but do it, because you're not alone. It was very good to not feel alone, especially in Texas.
Yeah, it was a very similar vibe here in Florida, up in the Jacksonville area, which is where my wife and I went. And we were talking about that afterwards, just like how good it was for our mental health to be around people who believe the same things that we do and actually have empathy and care about what's going on in this world. So, yeah, our situation was very similar. It was not like a huge protest in terms of tens of thousands of people, flocking in the streets or anything like that. Some of the photos I saw of major cities yesterday were blowing my mind. So that was incredible. And I was so encouraged to see all these people taking to the streets and yeah, protesting executive overreach and freaking troops being deployed against civilians and all the nonsense that's been going on. So yeah, that was great. And I think I totally agree. If there's another protest coming up, who knows what the state of the world is by the time people are listening to this. But if there's another one coming up, I'd highly encourage people to participate. So let's move into what we've been reading. Jacob, what have you been reading recently?
Yeah, it's one of my holy grail books in terms of I bought it at some point. It was like, one of these days I'll make my way through it. And I finally am. It's just a book called The Weird. It's an anthology of short stories assembled by editors Jeff Vandermeer and his wife Anne Vandermeer. Jeff Vandermeer is best known for writing Annihilation, the original novel, and its sequels. But he's been in addition to being a sci-fi and horror novelist, he's been a editor and of numerous short story collections over the years. And The Weird looks like a phone book. It literally has the thickness and design of a phone book. It has so many stories in it that it has that double column approach where each page has 2 columns of text. It essentially wants to collect, I think it was published in 2011, and it has 110 short stories, also a few novellas and short novels, over 1,000 pages. And it says essentially wants to be over a century worth of weird fiction. And weird fiction is hard to summarize. It's kind of it when you see it type thing. H.P. Lovecraft is famously the most famous name associated with weird fiction, but it goes before him, goes after him. But it's essentially post Edgar Allan Poe. What if horror got weird? And like I said, weird is the name of the genre, but generally means things that are more uncertain, things that are more cosmic, things that are more unexplained. And so much of the birth of modern horror comes from weird fiction. And I'm trying to read a story a night. Sometimes I'm failing, sometimes I'm succeeding. Some stories, 4 pages, some are 60 pages. And I'm catching up with some classics. I finally got around to reading Algernon Blackwood's The Willows, which is scary as hell, despite being written in 1907. Just like Blair Witch Project in the rivers of Europe in the early 1900s. Just scary stuff. And it's in chronological order, so I'm making my way through stories written in the 19-teens right now, stuff from Germany, Italy, Japan, making my way up toward, the more 1930s is when the genre really started to come into its own with people like Lovecraft and Clark Ashton Smith. So I guess my question to all of you is, what is your holy grail book? What is a book that's sitting on your shelf or in your Amazon wish list where you're like, one of these days I will read this because it's such a daunting effort? Because this is a daunting effort. This book is massive, but I'm finally doing it and finally feeling rewarded. So what's your holy grail book, guys?
For me, I'm reading one of mine right now. I decided to write out several of my Holy Grail books and try to make my way through them this year. So one of them is The Stand, the Stephen King book, which has been on my shelf for years and I had never gotten to. So I'm in the middle of that right now. I'll talk about it when I'm done with it. Crime and Punishment is another one that I've just never gotten into, Dostoevsky and any of the Russian classics. So I feel like I need to read some of those, and that one seems to be pretty high on my list. And then also the original Little Women book. I'd love that movie so much, and I've never read the book. So
Ben, you've never read Little Women?
I don't think so. Yeah, it was one of those that I think a lot of people were assigned to read it in school, and none of my teachers ever assigned it to me, and I just never got to it. So I have a copy sitting on my bookshelf right now.
It's okay. You have missed out on a whole childhood. I mean, I guess I had a very different life experience than you, because Little Women obviously was a childhood book of mine, and my mom left on the bookshelf when I was young, and I would just kind of read whatever she left on my bookshelf. And that was one that I read so many times that the spine is completely destroyed. But I'm you should read Little Women. It's incredible. And also it's it shouldn't be a holy grail book, or at least a daunting effort, because it's such an easy read. It's such a sweet and I read it when I was like 10 years old. You can definitely read it now, Ben. Read it.
Yeah,
Do it.
no, it's more the Stand was one that that felt daunting to me because it's so huge, and I just added the other ones to the list. The other ones are much shorter, and I just added the other ones to the list because I want to kind of, instead of just I have so many, I have like 600 books on my bookshelf or something, and instead of just kind of picking and choosing whatever I'm feeling in the moment, which is what I've done over the past few years, I wanted to essentially cross off books that I really want to read. Like, why am I waiting, years to get to these things that I'm really excited about reading? So I'm just not going to read anything else until I'm done with these. So yeah, hopefully by the end of this year, or maybe a little sooner, who knows how fast I end up reading these, but I'll be able to cross these off the list. Anybody else have any
real quickly, Ben, that's our question.
Yeah.
Which version of the Stand are you reading? Are you reading the original version or the like director's cut, so to speak, that Stephen King republished in the 90s?
Yeah, the director's cut, the full uncut version.
Oh man, yeah, that's I think it's a brick. Sorry to interrupt. I feel like the original version of Stand is not daunting. The director's cut, for lack of a better term, is daunting. So
okay, interesting. Yeah, I think I saw something recently that like there's going to be something published that are like more stories set in the world of the Stand or something. Do you know anything about that, Jacob?
Yeah, a short story collection where it's a bunch of stories set in the world of the Stand, which I'm surprised hasn't happened sooner, because King has revisited the Stand in some of his other works, because Stephen King Multiverse, he was doing it before, it was cool, but he's never actively made a sequel to the Stand, which he could have based on the success of that book and threads that are still going on in that book. But yeah, so I'm interested to see how that is, because there's a lot you can do with that world, and the lineup of writers working on that is pretty cool. So yeah. Oh, sorry. Trying to make this. Didn't want to make this a Stand podcast. Who else has books?
Yeah.
For me, it's one book. It's Victor Hugo's Les Miserables, because I have like this hardcover brick that I've had since a kid. And it's followed me throughout my life. I've just taken it wherever I've gone. And it's gigantic. And I tried reading it once when I was young, and I was like, this is too dense for me. I cannot do it. And I was like, I'll read it when I'm older. And I've just kind of been putting it off. And yeah, so that's my Holy Grail book.
Do you like descriptions of sewers?
I can't say I do.
Oh, then you're in for a rough trip with Les Mis.
Mine is less of a book and more that I'm trying to finish all of Shakespeare's plays. I've read an overwhelming number of them because I studied theater in college, but there are so many Henrys. There's so many of them, and I have not read all of them, and I know that I need to. There are also some comedies that I have seen performed questionably, is how I'll describe it. Like Measure for Measure is one that I really want to actually read, because the production I saw was not funny. It's one of his comedies, and they played it like it was a serious tragedy, which is a choice. So some of the forgotten comedies and some of the Henrys I haven't gotten around to. I really need to finish them to say that I've read all of his plays. I just haven't done it.
Which one surprised you? Like I've read a lot of Shakespeare, as well over the years, and which play like stands out as one where like, oh, this one's like should be more famous?
See, what's interesting is that the ones that I'm like, wow, this is really good, they are famous, I guess, in the sense that they've been turned into teen movies. And so that is something that that was definitely my entry point for a lot of Shakespeare when I was younger. And because I host the Sense at Prom, a teen girl movie podcast, we watch a lot of movies that are based on these Shakespeare plays. So then I usually will go back and like read them. Twelfth Night is so good. It is so good. And the gender stuff that's going on there is wild. And it's weird that I think like if we're going to study any Shakespeare in school, like that's one of them. Like fuck Romeo and Juliet. We're done. It's tired. We've been through it. Let's talk about something else.
Brad, do you have a white whale type of book?
Since I didn't have to read this in high school, the one that I think that I always would like to read and then never actually buckle down and do it is Catcher in the Rye. Obviously, I'm familiar with like its place, you know, in literature and culture and whatnot. But yeah, I've never actually sat down to read that. Also, on a much different note, I've been considering going back and rereading all the Goosebumps books. So
Oh, nice.
there's that.
You can read one of those in 45 minutes. You can like read the whole series in a week.
I
if you
know,
put your mind
right?
to it.
Yeah,
I did that a few years ago, and some of them still kind of hit. And then you're gonna read some of them and be like, Stein, what were you doing? Like,
Yeah.
rent was clearly due.
Oh, real quick, I do want to say that I speaking of white whales, I have started Moby Dick, and I had to put it aside for personal reasons because it is a sometimes challenging read. But if you commit to Moby Dick, there was a week-long period where I was reading it every single night, and man, Moby Dick is funny as hell as long as you can get into the headspace of the language. The moment you fall off the language, you gotta get a few days to get back into it. So that's my Moby Dick. I recommend Moby Dick with that asterisk that if you drop off, it's hard to get back in. So that's where I am with that book.
It's especially funny if you imagine that Moby Dick laughs like Seth Rogen.
There's literally there's an entire chapter dedicated to Ishmael, the main character, trying to get comfortable in bed, and Melville literally spends pages describing the pleasure of it being a very cold night and having your body under a blanket, but wanting one leg or one arm outside the blanket to feel the cold. I go, Melville gets it. This guy got it. He still gets it.
All right, BJ, what have you been reading?
Sure. So this is a book that is currently only available for pre-order, and I was very lucky to get an advance copy of it, but I am currently making my way through Kristen Lopez's Popcorn Disabilities. It is a book looking at the history of the way disability and actors with disabilities have been portrayed throughout cinema history across all genres. If people are not familiar with Kristen's work already as a journalist and a critic, she is one of sort of like our premier voices of a disabled critic. And this book is really fascinating because I think a lot of times when people write, critical books on film and its relationship with people from marginalized identities, a lot of times they are people coming in from like the sociological aspect first, and they don't have quite the love of film. And Kristen loves film so much. So when she is being critical, it's very apparent that this is coming from a place of love and a place of wanting our industry to do better and be better, and not just writing it off as like, film's the worst thing that's ever happened to us. It's like, no, it's actually really wonderful, which is why it's so detrimental when it misses the mark and when it paints a bad picture. And I want to highlight some of the chapters that are available that I've been like really obsessed with. So the one that really I was like, oh, she's really cooking with gas here, is she has an entire chapter called "You Never Go Full R Word," and it is specifically about like that sort of mindset and the public's relationship with palatable depictions of people with intellectual disabilities, and it's fantastic. She also has an entire chapter dedicated solely to the way that people with disabilities have been portrayed in horror movies, and even points out that for as much as horror can be like the worst in a lot of ways, horror consistently has more like opportunities for disabled actors than like any other genre, and a lot of times the movies are way better about handling disabilities than you would say like, Oscar bait movies where it turns into like tragedy porn. Really fantastic stuff. The book will be available in November, but it is available on pre-order through Bloomsbury.
Awesome. Okay, so that's called Popcorn Disabilities. Let's get into
I really want to quickly, I want to pat myself on the back because before she was a big deal, Kristen wrote for me briefly, and she's one of the... Look, I am sometimes the Lorne Michaels of film criticism in that every single person who's great eventually leaves me behind and goes somewhere else, except for you, crew. So Kristen's one of the many people who worked in the trenches with me, and then just when I was getting into like the rhythm of like, man, Kristen can be with me for a while, she got a much better, higher paying job and is now a big deal. So congratulations to Kristen, and hooray for me for being there for all of you fuckers before you leave me behind.
Can you say that in your best Lorne Michaels voice, Jacob?
I don't even want to try. Okay.
All right, so let's get into what we've been watching. I watched a 1947 British noir movie called Odd Man Out, which stars James Mason as a member of the IRA, which is hilarious because James Mason sounds a bit like this, and yes, I'm Mr. James Mason. And, like, this guy's definitely not Irish. There's no way that he has ever been to Ireland. But the movie is set in Belfast, and he plays a leader of the organization, and he plans this bank robbery that ends up going bad, and it leaves him injured and wandering around the streets. And basically, the movie is about community, and it's about what we owe to each other as a society. And given everything that's been going on in LA over the past several days, it feels particularly relevant. And the way that different characters kind of come out of the woodwork to either help or turn on this guy who definitely has the best interests of the citizenry at heart is just really fascinating to watch, and there's some interesting parallels there. And I think the most interesting thing about Odd Man Out is that it's directed by Carol Reed, who's the same director who made The Third Man a couple years later. And the visual similarities between those two movies are very clear when you're watching them. The Third Man has some of the best cinematography I've ever seen. It's a lot of Orson Welles running through sewers and incredible backlighting. And Brad, we talked about this on an episode of a podcast not too long ago where it just looks incredible. And Odd Man Out has a lot of that type of look to it. So it's really cool to see a director kind of work out an idea and then perfect it a couple movies later. I feel like Spielberg has done that before. There are probably tons of directors who are like obsessed with a type of thing and just are kind of constantly tweaking and evolving until they get it right in like a classic masterpiece. And I would say Odd Man Out is not the masterpiece, but it's a really fascinating stepping stone toward one. So I think it's available on like Turner Classic Movies. I know it's streaming on Max right now. So if you want to check that out, it's called Odd Man Out. I'm guessing
I
nobody
chime
else.
in and say I have not seen Odd Man Out, but The Third Man's like one of the best movies ever made.
Yeah.
So I just want to like, if you don't want to watch Odd Man Out, you should. I'm forcing you to watch The Third Man. People listening to this, like I think we can all agree that like watch both because Ben's smart and you should listen to him. But if you can only pick one, Third Man is like, goodness gracious, that movie sticks with you.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so BJ, what have you been watching recently?
So the first one I'm shouting out is that for me it was a rewatch, but it was also introducing my wife to her very first Greg Araki movie, and we watched The Doom Generation. What a picture. I am obsessed with The Doom Generation. It hit so much harder now as an adult than it did for me when I was a teenager. I've been trying to go through a lot of like new queer cinema releases because my wife grew up like with no real access to film outside of like mainstream stuff. Like she didn't even have like a video store. It was like an area in a like a drugstore. Like that's where you could rent movies. And so there's a lot of like very formative movies to me that she's never seen, and Doom Generation was one of them. And James Duvall, Too Pure for This World, absolutely incredible. Love him forever. Jonathan Sheck, so weirdly hot, in like the grossest way possible. And Rose McGowan, like introducing Rose McGowan, what a force! An absolutely dynamic performance. The movie's great for people who haven't seen it. It is two people, like a young teen couple on the run who join up with like a criminal grifter, and they just go on a road trip from hell of sex and threesomes and drugs and mini marts. And it is such a poignant look at the way that so many young generations feel doomed, because ultimately, no matter what we do, the conservative powers that be are going to, come after us. And the end scene is a hard watch if you don't realize that Greg Araki is like being really funny about it, because it's some pretty intense material. If you're somebody who requires trigger warnings, absolutely like do your research beforehand before you dive in. But God, it's so good. And what's even better is that it's released through Criterion now, and it has been restored to its like director's cut glory. The movie has famously been butchered throughout like TV releases and DVD releases, and Greg Araki put it back together and was like, no, this is my movie. This is how it's meant to be seen. And it's a stunning restoration and edit.
Is this the Greg Araki movie to start with, BJ?
What's that?
If you're like me and I've been like putting off watching Greg Araki for years and years and years, is this the one to start with?
I would say yes, because it's very early on in his career, but it's the first time he was given like a decent amount of money. And so I think it's pretty accessible, even though it is very a lot is the best way I'll put it. But you have recognizable faces, you have a bit of a budget. So it's a lot like how I always recommend when people start John Waters, that you actually start with his more like accessible films and then work your way backwards. Because I think if you start with somebody's like, we have zero money and a dream movies, it like can put people off. But yeah, I think Doom Generation is a great way to start. It is technically the middle of his teen apocalypse trilogy, but again, it's where he got his money. So I think it's smart, and it's very funny because it opens with like a heterosexual film by Greg Araki, and it's because a producer told him like, you make all these gay movies, I can't make you money for gay movies, so if you can make a straight movie, I can get you money. And so he's like, all right, sure, I'll make a straight movie, but it's about to be the gayest straight movie you've ever seen in your life.
Awesome. All right. So what else have you been watching, BJ?
And then this other one was a new to me movie, and I have no idea how it was a new to me movie because this is such a BJ movie. I watched 1975's The Maids, directed by Christopher Miles, based on the play of the same name, starring Glenda Jackson and Susanna York. It is about two sisters, and I firmly believe that they just say sisters because otherwise any of like the censor boards would have been like, this is too gay, we cannot have this. But they are two housemaids serving for the same madam, and whenever she leaves the house, they take turns putting on her clothing and role playing as her and do like very like sadomasochistic rituals where they sort of like humiliate each other and fantasize about killing their boss. It is absolutely fantastic. The entire movie is set in the madam's bedroom. Like, we very seldom leave that room. It's very talky because it's based on a play, but it is so horny. It is incredible. And the whole time, like, they randomly will insert like, oh yes, my young sister, and it's like, no, y'all want to fuck each other like real bad, and then you want to kill each other because you hate your boss so much. Amazing, absolutely amazing. So floored by it. If people like, you know, two-handers or chamber pieces, like, this is an underrated great one.
Wow. Yeah, I've never heard of that. Okay, The Maids from 1975. Amazing. HC, what have you been watching recently?
I got to see an early screening of 28 Years Later. By the time this podcast episode releases, it will be out. But I can say at this point, it's very good. But it is interesting that it's so obviously a franchise starter. So I have not seen 28 Days Later until recently. And I was, you know, when I watched it, I was just like really gobsmacked by how incredible it is, how visceral, how thrilling. I am pretty pro Danny Boyle. There's been a couple of his movies like Yesterday that I have not totally loved, but it was 28 Days Later, watching that like at this point was like such an interesting like look back on like that point in his career when he was doing something very exciting and something very new with every one of his movies, and felt like just that emerging voice of this really like grimy, dirty DIY almost filmmaking, especially because 28 Days Later was filmed on like digital camcorders essentially, and 28 Years Later kind of replicates that by filming on iPhones, and there's like images that have come out of him shooting with these like insane iPhone rigs, but it does like manage to kind of bring Danny Boyle back to that sort of like really dirty filmmaking style. There's some like really amazing and interesting and like, I don't know, editing choices and filmmaking choices that I really loved. But there's like at the end, it strikes this like strange sentimental note that I was like, oh, that's kind of odd. And then it kind of like leads into the next film. So it's just like, there's like, you know, a mixed bag of stuff, but it does feel like a sort of return to form for Danny Boyle. If anyone ever thought that Danny Boyle like had lost it, I think that this one definitely feels like a return to form for him. And yeah, so it's great. Aaron Taylor Johnson, Jodie Comer, and newcomer Alfie Williams. They play the sort of family at the center of this movie, and they're really great. And there's some interesting, some really like fascinating, like weird, sort of disturbing lore and gore that's introduced in this. That feels like Danny Boyle and Alex Garland are kind of like, they are aware very much of like the new environment that they're introducing, bringing back their zombie franchise into, and that like zombies are so much the rage now, and they're just like trying to do something new, and I think it works. It's really fantastic. So that's 28 years later.
All right, HT, what else have you been watching?
So I've been at home at my parents' recently, and which means I got to take advantage of their TCM channel, and I was watching the Friday night feature, which was 1973's Paper Moon, directed by Peter Bogdanovich, and written and starring Ryan and Tatum O'Neal. And this is the movie that Tatum O'Neal won her Best Supporting Actress Oscar for, making her the youngest Oscar winner ever. I think she won at like 10 years old. This movie's incredible. It's my first time watching it, and it's just like this really lovely, kind of thorny, sort of father-daughter con artist road trip movie. I absolutely adore this. This is the kind of movie that I would just love to like hang out with and just let it and like sit with. And I really did that. And I think this is just like, this is I knew of its like legacy and everything like that, its reputation. And I really think it does live up to that just like all-time classics reputation. I don't really know if I have much to say about it that hasn't already been said, but yeah, Tatum O'Neal really deserved that Oscar.
Yeah. I watched Barry Lyndon for the first time within the past year or two, and that was like a big Ryan O'Neal moment for me. But I saw Paper Moon probably when I was like 15, and I haven't revisited it, but I remember their dynamic just being incredible in that film. Jacob, that seems like a movie that you would really like or have a lot to say about. Am I wrong about that?
You're correct in that I've seen it and that I like it, but it's been a long time since I've watched it. But I would like to revisit it. It's one of those movies where it's such a classic. If you see it once, and it kind of just lives with you. And but it's like, for example, I haven't watched Casablanca in over a decade because I remember it so vividly, and that's unfair to Casablanca and unfair to Paper Moon, because you should revisit movies you like more often so you can see those changing perspectives. So I'm probably due for a revisit. It's probably been 15 years.
Excellent. All right. Well, let's go now to Brad. What have you been watching recently?
I went to the theater to see Bring Her Back, and I'd been meaning to see this for a little while, and then I just felt like I really needed to because it was probably going to be out of theaters relatively soon with all the big blockbusters coming in and whatnot. And thankfully, this is one of those movies where I've been able to avoid a lot about it. I hadn't seen the trailer. I knew that there were like some pretty gnarly scenes in it, and so I was just really interested to see what the buzz was essentially about. This is the latest movie from the same directors of Talk to Me, which I really dug. And so this movie is so unsettling and scary and twisted and gnarly, and like I it's been a long time since like I've had full body cringes in a movie theater like this, because of just the things that make me feel so uncomfortable and like think about the pain that would happen from certain things. Just oh man, yeah. It's Sally Hawkins stars in this movie, and you know it basically follows I don't even know if I want to give it away, honestly, because like if you haven't seen the trailer or anything like that, like it's kind of cool just to like discover what's happening as it goes along, and because it kind of slow rolls it, where like you're trying to figure out exactly what's happening and why, but it's got a creepy kid in it. It's got some really just nasty violence, it's just really scary stuff. And it's been a while since like I left theater. I was just like, ugh.
What did you think about the way that the movie doesn't necessarily hold your hand in terms of what exactly is going on? Did you appreciate the way that it kind of just like dropped little breadcrumbs and let you pick up the pieces?
Yeah, 100%. And I like that they didn't do what I think like what a more mainstream horror movie about this would do, and like explain, the process of what's happening or how it works. Like, it lets you figure it out and pick up on certain details and stuff. And I also like that there's kind of like, I had some questions afterwards, actually, be like, well, like, is this how something like that is supposed to work, or did it go wrong? Or, like, because it's really interesting in that way once you start thinking about the mechanics of it all. But yeah, I really like that a lot, and I appreciate that much more than just like, okay, here's all the rules and here's everything how it's supposed to, all that stuff.
Yeah, it kind of seems like Sally Hawkins' character isn't quite sure whether she's doing it right or whether things are going according to plan or all that too. So,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Brad, I have a question for you.
Yes.
These guys are part of the newest trend, not trend, but wave of horror, in that there's so many young filmmakers emerging from YouTube to make horror movies. We just, the big news was that the director of the Backrooms shorts on YouTube is making an A24 movie, and he's like 19 years old. These guys are young too, and it really feels like if George Romero and Sam Raimi were, reincarnated now, and they were making their, $50,000 movies, in a cabin or in a Pittsburgh, backyard, like they got their start, they'd be putting them on YouTube. I'm wondering, like, between this and Talk to Me, I've not seen this one yet. How much of a step forward is the filmmaking? I'm genuinely like fascinated by the idea of the YouTube filmmakers becoming the next wave of horror. I'm curious about how you see them evolving from YouTube to their first film to this. Like, what's the evolution look like to you?
I think on a basic level, it's interesting because the first one is very much ingrained in like today's teenage culture of like, what's trending online and what they're doing, since, it follows these kids basically using demonic possession as if it were like a drug and something cool to see their friends on, and posting it on TikTok, Snapchat, what have you. And this is a little bit more removed from it. It's still definitely ingrained in like in being, from it's Australia, right? That they're Australian filmmakers, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so I think that they're but what I like about this is it kind of in a similar vein to like what BJ was suggesting before with Kristen Lopez's book, is I like that one of the main characters in this is a young blind girl. But they don't use that story point as something that is really like where it doesn't hinge on that, it's just an element that's involved in the movie. So I like that they're doing something like that. It's another one that continues from Talk to Me as far as like dealing with trauma as like a source for horror as well, in a different way. There's a lot of horror movies that have been doing that, I think, these days more often than they did in like the 80s and 90s. But yeah, I think if anything, this one, it's a less simple premise, and the way it unfolds is a lot more subtle. And like Ben was talking about, kind of the way it just gradually pulls you in, as opposed to just giving you the entire premise up front, is, I think, a really interesting way to do it.
Yeah. This movie is also very unafraid to explore the messy and really fucked up ways that many of us deal with grief.
Yeah.
I mean, that's I think the central heart of this movie, is like how grief can just make us all do unspeakable things. Yeah, this movie like blew me away, because also, if you've ever met these directors or watched any interview with them, they are the most like happy-go-lucky, like, yeah, we're just really excited to be here kind of guys. And then
They're
you
the
watch
sweetest babies imaginable. I interviewed them, and I was so they're not that much younger than me, but they feel much younger than me because they're so joyful. They have no cynicism in them.
And then you watch this movie and it's like, should we call someone? Are you okay?
Yeah. Okay, so what else have you been watching, Brad?
I've been really digging into this. It's not really a new series, but one of the seasons is pretty new. So there's this show called Last One Laughing that is available on Prime Video. And the first season that I watched is from the UK, and it just debuted earlier this year. But it's actually the latest in like international run of adapting this Japanese show that was called Documental, and has since gone for several seasons. And the premise is they take 10 comedians and they put them in a room for 6 hours, and they're basically all trying to make each other laugh, but you're not allowed to laugh. And you get one warning, a yellow card, and then you get a red card and you're kicked out of the game. And obviously the last one at the end, who hasn't laughed, is the winner. And I started with the UK one because it had some people that I was familiar with, because I watch British panel shows like The Big Fat Quiz of Everything and 8 out of 10 Cats and stuff like that. And so I heard about this and I was interested to watch it. And man, this show is so much fun. Like just the different bits they come with to try and make each other laugh. They made the most familiar person on this. The UK edition is Richard Ayoade, aside from Jimmy Carr, who is the host of the show. But Richard Ayoade is one of the contestants in the room, and he is like a killer. He's just stone faced all the time, and he'll just come out with these deadpan things. But everyone on the show is fantastic, and it's really, really funny, and it's a breeze to watch too, because all the episodes are only like a half an hour long. But it's so much fun. And so after that, I decided to dig into some of the other international versions. So there's a Canadian version that came out in 2022, and that has an extremely recognizable roster because it has people like Tom Green, Dave Foley, K. Trevor Wilson from Letterkenny. It's hosted by Jay Baruchel. Colin Mockery's also on it. And so that one is a little more, unfortunately, it's a bit overproduced, and they kind of lean in too much into like the cheesy game show aspect, but the roster and the premise still hold it strong. It's still really funny to watch. And I just started the Irish one, which is hosted by Graham Norton, and it's just it's hilarious. And the craziest thing too is just watching how hard it is for the comedians like not to laugh, and like the different ways they're trying not to. And then when they're done and like they have the talking heads, and you're talking about like they're basically just like flexing their entire body like the entire time because they're just trying to hold strong. But there's so many good jokes and bits. They throughout they have it's more direct in the UK one. They call it the Joker, and they have the comedian go up and do a planned bit that they've done that involves some kind of presentation or props or other things that come in. It's not as pronounced in the Canadian and Irish version so far, but they still do bits. It's just not like in the UK one where Jimmy Carr is like, okay, it's time for you to do your thing. It just kind of happens throughout the show. But man, yeah, if you're looking for something really funny to watch and something new, all of these different versions are on Prime Video, and they're so much fun to watch.
Awesome. All right, Jacob, what have you been watching?
Before the protests, I decided if I'm going to watch one movie before a police officer shoots me dead, which was legitimately my anxiety-ridden thought that morning, what should I see? And I decided I will see the new Wes Anderson because he's one of my favorite filmmakers and he means a lot to me. So I saw the Phoenician Scheme in theaters. This is his newest film. Benicio del Toro is the star. Michael Cera is in it. All the usual suspects, a lot of the old and new Wes Anderson regulars. Bill Murray pops in for a scene. Willem Dafoe clearly showed up for one day. I think he has one line of dialogue. Tom Hanks, Bryan Cranston, newcomers like Riz Ahmed, Benedict Cumberbatch is in it. All the people who show up for Wes Anderson. And I really, really liked it. But also, I'm a sucker for Anderson in general. And nothing grinds my gears more than whenever a new Anderson film comes out, there's always this loud contingent of fucking assholes who their first reaction is, oh yeah, Wes Anderson's doing his thing again. Oh, how boring. I'm going, one of the most distinctive filmmakers of all time, a guy whose style is so singular, you look at a frame and you know it's him. And you're mad that he's doing his thing. You're mad that a filmmaker who has so clearly established something unique keeps on doing that, and you get mad at it. I will never understand mentality. So even a weaker Wes Anderson film, I love that he's sticking to his guns. He's doing his thing. Nobody makes movies like him. And this is not a top tier Wes Anderson movie, but it's an upper tier one. I like it a lot. It's very funny. And watching the movie on Father's Day was fun because Wes Anderson is the best bad dad filmmaker of the past 30 years. So many great bad dads. And Del Toro's performance here as one of the great, like a Royal Tenenbaum level bad dad. Just superb stuff. I had a great time with this movie. I think all Wes Anderson movies improve on second viewings, so we'll see how that goes. But man, I'm so glad he exists as an artist. I'm so glad he's not bowed to any kind of pressure to change his style. And I'm so glad that he's reached an era where early Wes Anderson is so clearly about what it's about. And films like Asteroid City and Phoenician Scheme and even The French Dispatch, I think, are a bit more opaque by design and want to sit with you and have you tackle them in a way that I don't think you necessarily need to do with his early films. So yeah, I am pro Wes Anderson forever and for always. But I'm curious, how do you guys fall on Phoenician Scheme? Like, where does it fall in your Wes Anderson rankings?
I haven't seen it yet, so I can't chime in, unfortunately.
I saw it, and I have to say that it left me a little cold. I was such a huge proponent / defender of both Asteroid City and The French Dispatch, and I
your cat is just going wild in the background.
I'm so sorry if you can hear her like meowing like crazy. She's been like extra wild in this episode. I don't know why. She's really excited about Wes Anderson. But I felt a little bit left a little cold to this one. I felt like the criticisms that people had for Asteroid City, I felt a little bit like that were my feelings towards Phoenician Scheme. Because I loved Asteroid City and like its depiction of like grief and that kind of stuff. And I think that interestingly, Phoenician Scheme does pick up on those themes and threads a little bit. But it's I don't know. I didn't quite connect with it. Although I will say I watched it twice, and the second time I liked it better. So it does. It is like I feel like every Wes Anderson movie does reward rewatching, especially a lot of his later films, just because they are so layered and so dense. So yeah, I feel like it's like mid to lower tier Anderson for me, but I also agree with Jacob that like all these Anderson haters who are like hating on him because he's Wes Anderson. I'm like, what do you like? Pick a battle, guys. Like, just like there are other better things to be angry about.
Imagine being mad that an artist has a style. I think it's so stupid. I'm sorry. This is literally one of my top 5 like reasons why I don't miss film Twitter is this kind of bullshit, man. It's like it would be like telling Martin Scorsese, hey, you can't do a tracking shot anymore. Fuck you. Fuck all of you. Wes Anderson forever.
BJ, have you seen Phoenician Scheme yet?
Yeah, I'm with HT in terms of it's like mid to lower for me, but also a mid to lower Wes Anderson movie is like leagues above a lot of other directors. But I do want to especially shout out Michael Cera's performance in this movie. It's one of my favorite performances he's ever done. I think he's a genius, and I love that he's sort of having this career resurgence where they're like, okay, we're not just going to have you play like white boyfriend of the week as we did with him for like a decade. Now you get to play a bunch of weirdos because that's where you've always that's where you were meant to be, Michael Cera, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil anything for Brad, but there's like one moment in Michael Cera's performance that is it's just incredible. It really turned, I was on board with his performance the whole time, but it really like took it to another level for me, and you'll know it when you see it. But go ahead, Jacob.
I just want to say that I just really like people. I think try to pin down like what is Wes Anderson's style, and more than anything, he's a cartoonist. In that you look at a single room or a character or a costume in the same way that a cartoonist has sometimes one panel or 2 panels to establish everything you need to know about a character or a situation. And like, there's a moment that sums up that so well for me, where Bryan Cranston and Tom Hanks' characters both enter the movie, and they're both dressed, 1950s business suits, and they're meant to be like, American capitalist characters. And Tom Hanks is holding a bottle of Coca-Cola, like an old-fashioned glass bottle, and Bryan Cranston is holding a Hershey bar, carefully unwrapped with a single, like, perfectly outlined bite taken out of it. And they're both standing there very stoically, one holding Coke, one holding a Hershey bar. And just in one image, using 2 food props and a costume, you realize, yes, I know these guys entirely. I know these characters, and they can enter the scene, and you instantly know the people they are. And no one is better at that than Wes Anderson. The way he costumes and the way he set dresses along with his collaborators is the same way that the best cartoonists, land a joke or land a tone in a single panel. And I don't think anyone else in film has done it as well as that. Just perfect stuff.
I want to jump in and plug my interview with Wes Anderson that you can find on inverse.com, in which he talks about how people aping his very singular visual style, it doesn't quite bother him, but that's just how he works. He conveys information through the visual language, and I think that it's exactly what you were describing just now, Jacob. And I also want to add fuel to the Michael Cera hype train and say that Wes Anderson has found his new great quirked up white boy. So
He's found the new Jason Schwartzman.
the new Jason Schwartzman. Yeah, our favorite quirked up white boys teaming up for mecha quirked up white boys powers.
Did you guys know that Mia Threppleton is Kate Winslet's daughter? I just learned that recently.
Yes.
She's one of the stars of this movie. That kind of blew my mind. I had no idea. But
I only learned this
first major
because
role, too.
Yeah, the piece of trivia is that they cast it before they knew that, apparently. So I also watched it before I knew that. So we're all in the same boat. Look at me and Wes Anderson being in the same boat for once.
All right, so let's get into what we've been eating. BJ, what have you been eating recently?
Oh, and so anyone who has listened to us do podcasts before know that I, like Brad, love a good junk food, love a good gimmick bullshit.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Summer is my favorite season of gimmick bullshit because it's like, all right, in the fall we have pumpkin spice, in the winter we have peppermint mocha. What are we going to do for summer? Bomb pop season, motherfuckers. Everything is a bomb pop, a fire bomb, like firecracker, whatever flavor profile you want to call it. I'm getting popsicles, I'm getting seltzers, I'm getting like Twisted Tea has a bomb pop now. I'm in heaven right now. It is so great. Everybody is busting all those out. It's fantastic. I've got a new body spray that's bomb pop as well. It's like my favorite summer flavor, and I love that for whatever reason marketing has decided like this is the summer flavor, and I'm thrilled. It's great. The bomb pop flavor of like bubbly seltzer water is so good. Aldi now has like giant bomb pops that they sell alongside with like the big stick of the cherry pineapple popsicles made famous by Rose McGowan and Jawbreaker, but they have a bomb pop version of it, so it's just humongous and incredible. It's great. That's all I have to say. Bomb pop forever.
What if I find bomb pops to be upsetting to look at?
Like, because they're so patriotic looking?
They look like a MAGA dildo, and I don't like it.
I mean, you're not wrong. They do, but I also am very much on board with this new thing that's been happening lately where people are like, hey, we're reclaiming the American flag and we're not making it so associative with MAGA. And I was like, you know what? I think I'm kind of okay with that. I think like a little bit of libbing out is good for anybody. And so that's how I've been sort of operating with it. I'm also just like, I grew up poor white trash. Like seeing a woman in a red, white, and blue bikini is always like the peak of hotness in my mind because that's just how I'm wired from being around that environment my entire life. But I will say, if you are looking for like a very good cocktail, it also has a horrible, problematic American name, but a Hulk Hogan cocktail is spiked lemonade, but instead of ice, you put the bomb pop in it and let it melt. Highly recommend it. Great summertime drink.
Plus, I think it's safe to say that the bomb pop was around before MAGA, so like they don't get to take away the bomb pop from us. That's ours.
It's the shape on the box. I'm not saying the shape of the actual thing. The shape on the box, the way it has a cylindrical top, these grooves in it.
It's ribbed for our pleasure, Jacob.
But yeah, it looks like it exists to be inside your body and not in the way that most popsicles are. So I'm not saying no shame if you use bomb pops and other orifices. That's totally fine, cool, have fun. But I don't know, man. I look at it and I go, not for me. I mentally associate its various shapes with things that should not be eaten directly.
I mean, and if you're gonna use it, clean it out. You will get a yeast infection. There's a lot of sugar in that, children.
I feel like there should be a Selena Meyer quote for this very interesting conversation we're having right now.
BJ, have you had the Mountain Dew Summer Freeze yet?
Yes,
it's back for the season. So
yeah,
if you haven't had Mountain Dew Summer Freeze, is the bomb pop flavored Mountain Dew. That's how it's both in regular and zero sugar. I just got a zero sugar bottle yesterday. So.
Yeah, the most patriotic I get during the summer is when I have a bomb pop anything, and then I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah, America, and then I'm done with it, and it's like, all right, nope, it's hell again. We're back in hell.
For
Brad,
me,
have you done the red, white, and blue Mountain Dews that they tend to release every summer?
Yes. Oh yeah. Whenever there's a new Mountain Dew flavor, I always get whatever is available. So yeah, I tried all those when they did their big patriotic one. The one that I miss actually the most is Liberty Brew, which they said was like a combination of like I think it was like 20 some different like flavors or something in of a single Mountain Dew, which was delicious. So
Yeah, I remember
Nice.
4th of July last year, we had a party of sorts where we just, a low-key, let's celebrate America in our own fucked up way. And I said the best way to do it would be have a giant Mountain Dew taste test with the white and blue
Nice.
flavors. And white Mountain Dew, utterly terrible. Blue is okay. I would drink red again, is was the consensus of the group.
If you mix Code Red Mountain Dew with cream soda, you can replicate Barq's Red Pop, or like
Ooh.
Faygo Red Pop, Barq's like red cream soda. I don't know how or why, but if you're ever jonesing for like a red pop and you can't get the combination, Code Red Mountain Dew cream soda, you're welcome.
For me, summer is s'mores season is summer for me. So like as soon as the s'mores Oreos are back, which are officially called s'moreos now, and any s'mores flavor, like I'm trying the hell out of that.
I ate a whole box of the s'moreos this week. So
Yeah.
Brad, do you find, as a snack expert, do you find that a lot of s'more flavored things tend to taste like coffee? Because I love s'mores. I love making s'mores.
Oh,
But every time I
yeah,
buy
it's the
s'mores
toasted
milk,
marshmallow.
yeah, it always tastes like coffee. Like when people try to replicate it elsewhere, I'm not a coffee person. So like Volman's milk, it's a local Texas brand. They make great milk. They released a limited edition s'more milk. I was very excited, but it tasted just like the cappuccino milk, which I don't like because I don't like cappuccino or coffee. So tell me the best non-coffee s'more snacks so I can buy them.
I mean, s'moreos for sure. The s'mores Oreos don't taste a lick like coffee because the graham cookie flavor is so strong and mixes really well with the chocolate and marshmallow flavored double cream in the middle. Other s'mores snacks, I'm trying to think. There's,
I will say not the Jenny's ice cream s'mores flavor, because the toasted marshmallow, like I gave a bite to Harmony and her reaction was, ugh, it's coffee. And I went, no, it's supposed to be toasted marshmallow, but yeah, it tastes like coffee.
Yeah, BJ's right. Whenever it touts a toasted marshmallow flavor, that's when it's going to taste a little bit like coffee. But if it's just regular s'mores and it just says marshmallow flavor, you should be good to go, and you won't really get that coffee flavor.
This is actually genuinely useful information. I'm following this away because I need to start checking my snacks for toasted marshmallow flavor because clearly it's just coffee, man.
So I tried the new Selena Gomez Oreos because that's a thing that's out now, and it came out after Post Malone had his own Oreo. So now everyone's gonna get their own Oreo. Selena Gomez is really really good because it's inspired by horchata, which is a delicious creamy Mexican drink with like cinnamon spice in it. And so it's the cookie is like, it's a chocolate cookie, but then the cream inside is cinnamon and chocolate cream mixed together. And while it doesn't quite have the same flavor profile as horchata because it can't really be as creamy by default just because it's not a drink, it's still a very good flavor, and dipping them in milk is exquisite. So they're out for a limited time, so if you can track them down, they're already in stores all over the place. So definitely try them because they are very, very good.
But is Selena Gomez's face printed on the cookie?
No, not her face. It's different designs like headphones and music notes, and like apparently in some packs there's ones where it's like it's her signature on the cookie. So no, there's no Selena Gomez on the cookie. Sorry.
It's like, look, I feel like ever since I saw the giant gummies shaped like Shaquille O'Neal's head, I feel like all snacks that have celebrity endorsements must have the celebrity's head now. This is a huge rage and disappointment.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Actually, I would prefer that we get more gummies shaped like celebrity heads.
All right, so what else have you been eating, Brad?
So I just want to give a shout out to another favorite summer treat of mine that typically comes out around this season, and they're Barq's root beer float push-ups. They just come in a tube that you squeeze up. The mix of root beer and vanilla ice cream is delicious. I've only ever been able to find them at Aldi. So that's probably the place to start looking. They might be in other stores as well, but Aldi has always been the most reliable. As soon as summer hits, I start looking for them, and I just found a box yesterday, so I could not be more thrilled. And yeah, so if you like root beer floats, if you like ice cream, you don't necessarily want to have a whole mug of root beer to yourself with some ice cream. These are a great, satisfying substitute for a proper root beer float. They are delicious, great for the summer.
Excellent. So that's Barq's root beer float push-ups. And the final section here is what we've been playing. PJ, what have you been playing recently?
So I don't know if you've noticed, but the world is terrible right now. And I have been having a lot of depression, anxiety, all of that fun stuff. And I've been trying a lot of different things to help pull me out of the pit of despair that I find myself in most days. And my therapist recommended going back and doing things that helped me get through quarantine. So I picked up Animal Crossing again for the first time in about a year. I was really, really into it during quarantine. And then, just haven't really played in a while. And so I've thrust myself back into it. My villagers were all like, "Oh my God, we thought you were dead. We're so glad you're back. It's been so long since," I think it was like, "It's been 14 months since we've talked to you." It's like, oh no. And I gotta say, it's helping. It really is helping, getting to like make my island better, find more bugs and fish, the leftover handful that I hadn't found when I was playing, religiously. It's added a little bit more of a routine to my day as well, because I think I wake up every day, take one look at, blue sky or the news, and then I just spiral for the rest of the day because it's just so bad. Having this little escape that sort of like resets my brain so that I can actually like be productive has been absolutely fantastic. I still do not have a Switch 2 because you all know how much I make. I don't have Switch 2 money. And so I'm still playing on my handy dandy regular Nintendo Switch, and it's helping. So if anybody out there is also struggling with the weight of the world, think about the stuff that helped you get through quarantine. Give it a try. It might surprise you how much it helps. Go, make some sourdough. Go do something.
Oh, but would Tom Nook vote for Trump?
See, here's the thing is I don't think so. I genuinely don't think that Tom Nook would vote for Trump, because while we do have to pay Tom Nook, like, pay off our debts and whatnot, we can take as long as we want to pay off those debts. He's not like sending Tommy and Timmy to like bust our kneecaps or anything. He's like, yeah, get it to me when you can. And like, that would never stand in a Trump regime. They're going to take out Tom Nook. ICE is coming to get Tom Nook.
Has anybody else here ever played Animal Crossing? It sounds like Jacob has. If he's making references to characters, I'm
very familiar with it. I've never actually directly played it because I know I would get addicted to it. I'll get painfully addicted to it because it's the kind of game where if you don't check in daily, your villagers start to miss you. And I cannot let these digital creations down. I can't. I know, like, I got really into Stardew Valley a few years ago, the farming simulator, where like you can literally build a farm from scratch and like get to know the townsfolk and get married. And I started realizing that, oh no, this game will become my life if I let it. So I had to drop Stardew Valley, and for the same reason why I won't touch Animal Crossing. It's apparently great. I know the memes. I know the jokes. I know all the Tom Nook jokes, for example. I know there's the dog with the guitar, who's the rock star, whose name's escaping me.
KK Slider.
Yeah, thank you. I'm fully prepared to engage in conversations about Animal Crossing, but man, I cannot play it because it would destroy my life. I have too much responsibility.
Does anyone ever think about what our Neopets are doing right now? Do you think they're alive?
Here's what's so funny, HT. I still actively play Neopets every single day.
Wait, that's amazing. Mine are definitely like starving. Oh no.
Yeah, Neopets got new owners a few years back, and they have revamped a lot of things. A lot of the games are still available to play. Some of the earlier Flash games you can't play. I mean, you can do like workarounds, but there's like an entire new economy. They also have gotten a little bit more like equitable with the economy. So high value items like paintbrushes that like people would spend their entire life trying to strive for, like you can get with a little bit more relative ease. You can also customize your Neopets now. They recently released a new animal called the Varwolf, and it looks like a werewolf, so of course I had to get him. Yeah, it's great. It helps. I can't explain it. It just does.
Awesome. Well, yeah, hopefully some of these recommendations will help people get through whatever the hell is going on in the world right now. And hopefully by the time you're listening to this, I will have set up an Instagram page, and again, hopefully we'll be sharing clips from the episodes there. In the meantime, though, where can people find you online? BJ Colangelo, let's start with you.
I am on all forms of social media at BJ Colangelo, and my podcast is on all forms of social media at This Ends at Prom.
Jacob Hall?
Trekking Through Time and Space is a podcast I host with HT. It's about Star Trek and Doctor Who. Other than that, I am nowhere but here.
HT?
You can find me, as like Jacob said, talking on Trekking Through Time and Space. I'm on Twitter, Blue Sky, and Instagram at HTrambui, and you can find my work at inverse.com.
Brad?
Ethan Anderton on Twitter and Blue Sky. Look at Brad's Junk on Instagram if you want to hear more about snack food and soft drinks. And check out my podcasts, Go Flix Yourself, and the 10 to 1 podcast, which is a Saturday Night Live podcast, where we talk about Saturday Night Live. How about that?
Amazing. My name is Ben Pearson. You can find me on Instagram and Blue Sky at Ben Pears. I also host a podcast called Slash Film Weekly, where we talk about movie news and present interviews with filmmakers. If you want to respond to anything that we've said here, offer any feedback, suggest topics of conversation, or just say hello, you can reach us at popculturedfeedback@gmail.com. Also, please leave a review for us on Apple Podcasts. That really makes a big difference, especially for a new show like this. Thank you all for listening, and we will talk to you soon.